I did a little more work on the cockpit. I had to actually light it. So you can see the lights are blinking and flashing in there. The interior of the ship, every time they show it, it's like a very bright white lighting. So I lit the cockpit. I actually knocked the exposure down in the camera so it wouldn't get washed out. So it looks pretty good. You can still see the flashing lights. The way it's not totally dark in there except for the flashing lights. Figure somebody's got to be driving the ship, right? So what I did, I put LEDs on the right and left side of the cockpit. So I didn't like the guns that came with the kit as is. I had to alter them a little bit because you could certainly use them, I think, without doing anything to them. I just didn't like for the larger cannons, these are the barrels, and they're not straight. And it just would have taken more time for me to cut them out, sand them off, bend them, maybe shape them into straight, but they're just not straight. So I use metal. This is just metal tubing that I got. And all the parts that you see that are metal I added. So just some added detail on the cannons that will definitely look better when it's all painted. It didn't take me long to do. I mean, stuff like this, I don't know, it might have taken me an hour to do all of them. So I added, this little area here. That's where the LED is gonna be, the red LED. It's not gonna fill up that whole area, but there's gonna be a red LED in there. And the smaller cannons, there's 4. So there's 2 bigger cannons go on the top and the bottom, right behind the bridge. And then a little further back, there's 4 cannons that go on the side, 2 on each side. And these, I was able to use the barrel because they were in pretty good shape. I just clipped the ends off because the end of the barrel was tapered, but I didn't like the way that the resin looked, and there was pieces connected to it that I would have had to file down, and it was just, I used this hollow metal. That means I didn't have to drill out the resin. It was already a barrel. I can't stand seeing guns that aren't drilled out, so the barrel is actually open. And then I added some styrene here, another metal tube here, just to add some detail to them. Otherwise the guns were fine. There's good amount of detail on them. Alright, here's my guns all painted. So they're painted with primer, and everything looks more even now, so you can see the finished. I haven't given them the final coat yet. This is actually a piece that goes onto the radar dish that I have to clean up. It's actually can use this piece. This is I was able to cut the spare resin out of there, and I'm going to clean it up with a file and get it all nice and neat. So I got my little radar dish assembly built, and the dish goes on, and then the little piece goes in the center. Got that done. I got all these parts cleaned up, and I had to rescribe panel lines that either weren't deep enough or that disappeared when I sanded them off. So these are the 2 caps for the bridge section, and I don't have a lot left to do as far as parts to clean up. I still have the fins to clean up. There's a bunch of fins on this thing. I got my escape pods mounted, and I guess the ones that are ejected. Got those on, and I got this whole seam filled in with putty. It's been Putty City, as you can see with my hands. I've been putting a lot of it on, so I'm filling in all these seams between the bridge section and this section. There was a big gap in here, so I had to fill that in, and on this I had to fill in some of the seam work where those pieces joined up. These are actually attached. These are attached. I actually put some photo etch in here. These are like vents that go on the side of the radar. The radar dish sits on here, and they're just like vents. So I figured there'd be some junk and stuff in here, so I gummed that up, and there's a metal venting to add some detail. And the power, I figured out this piece was solid. I drilled a hole in there. It is about a half an inch or so, something like that, 31/64, I think the hole size is. That's actually going to go, that goes on the bottom here. I drilled a hole here too, so I am going to run my power plug in that. So it'll be on the bottom of the ship. You really are not going to see it, and you can see my power plug fits right in there. So I'm going to glue this in, put this piece on the ship, and then I have my power for all my board and all my lights and everything else. So all I have to do is plug a power adapter in the bottom of the ship. When the ship's on the base, you really shouldn't notice the wire going into the bottom of the ship. That was the best spot that I could put it. I was going to put it inside the base, the stand. There's two posts that the ship sits on, but I couldn't figure out a way to do it where I could find a place that would allow me to put the plug inside the ship where those posts sit. So I thought easiest way is just put it in here. This piece was almost made for that because there's there wasn't much detail on here at all, and it sits on the bottom of the ship. You're not going to see this part anyway, so if there's a power plug in there, so be it. But that's the best solution that I came up with for that. That's pretty much it, man. I'm going to wait till these parts dry, the putty. I'm going to clean up all my seams, and I'm going to put the two sections together. I'm going to fit these two sections together, and then I'm going to just start applying the rest of my detail. And then once that's all done, put my fins on there, then the whole front section of the ship is actually done, and I can paint it, and I could detail paint it, and then I could join it up with the engine section, and then we go to the weathering step. So it's coming along, and nothing all that exciting, but this is fun stuff. So here are the fins that come with the ship. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. I didn't even realize that there were this many fins on the ship when I built it, but there are. So you have to take some extra resin off the bottom of these because they're all like in one big flat piece, and the easiest way that I found to do it is this is a sanding pad that I got at the hardware store or somewhere, and this is probably 150 grit, and I'm just kind of putting a little bit of pressure on this thing and removing the resin while keeping the edge of this as straight as possible, so you get like a nice clean finish on it. Of course, you don't want to take off too much, but there are some problem areas on this where there's just some minor buildup of resin there, taking that off. And see, when I'm sanding that, there's, I don't know if you can see this, but there's some excess resin on. When I'm sanding that, see these panel lines? They're going away because they're not very deep. So I have to fix this. I have to clean this up. And what I'm using is 240 grit, which will take a good amount of material off without digging into it. So I'm sanding away that excess, and part of that panel line is like gone. So this side looks okay. And these outside edges are a little slanted, so you just want to kind of follow them and clean up what you can. So the piece is cleaned up now, so I want to get the detail back. So here's my little scribing tool, and this thing's nice, so you can get a lot of leverage on it, so it's not going to go haywire on you. So all I'm going to do is run this using the guide of the line that's actually in there, but I'm just kind of, I'm in the same channel, but it's not very deep, so I'm kind of working this tool like just a little bit, and it's catching some of the material and it's pushing it out. You can keep going with this and it'll get wider and wider. So you can see that panel line's back, and it's actually deeper. So after I paint it, there'll be enough of a little bit of a channel in there that it'll pick up the wash, if I put a wash on it to accentuate the panel line. Just really lightly going over this. You want to kind of go over it lightly, maybe once, just to get the ridge in there. And if your tool is sharp, it will put a little ridge, and then you can just keep going. It takes a lot of practice, so don't get frustrated if you don't get it right away. But this is a really valuable technique to learn, because panel lines are really important and you don't want to lose them. And if you screw up, it's really not a big deal. You just fill it in with some putty, you sand it, and you do it all over again. So it's not a, you know, one shot and you're done kind of thing. So I got my two pieces together, and I got all my fins on. Some of them are painted, some of them aren't. Everything fit great. I have no complaints. Obviously there's some fit issues because I have some putty in there, but that's just seams. Nothing I can't remedy. So it looks like I have a lot of putty on here. I do, but it's kind of forced into all these seams here, and there's no way I'm going to be sanding all this down because I just can't get sandpaper in a lot of these places. So what I'm doing is just using, now this is solvent based putty. This is it's actually squadron putty. It's squadron white putty. If you use a water based putty like this is this cleans up with water, and you can use water instead of acetone, which is what I'm using. Acetone will take away this putty, so I can get rid of the excess with a Q-tip and some acetone, and not have to sand, and it'll take all the putty out of the detail, most of the panel lines and stuff, so I don't have to worry about that. And it's a great way to fix seams you can't really get to with sandpaper, and you know, it works in certain for certain applications. So that's what I'm going to do. It's going to take me a little while because I have a lot of putty on this and there's a lot of ground to cover. So I'm going to use a lot of Q-tips, but that's my plan. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and I'll give you a look at the ship when it's all cleaned up and probably have a coat of paint on it.